Hi, my name is Sarah Halverson and I'm a professor in the Department of Geography here in the College of Arts and Sciences. My research and teaching centers on water resources, environmental hazards, international development, and the regions of the Rocky Mountain West. Today is Charter Day 2013, and this is a day to celebrate the 120 years of the University of Montana. Good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to see this wonderful turnout, and it's wonderful to have this opportunity to focus on how we can engage students in interesting and innovative ways. So thanks for the opportunity to talk to you about a field course that we've developed in geography. It's called, the title is actually Montana's Mountains. It's a field-based course close to the border of the west border of Glacier National Park, and I'll show you a picture of that in a minute. But first, by way of introduction, I want to say that sitting here in this amazing environment, mountain environment, we've thought deeply about how to engage students in our mountain geography that surrounds us. And in our department, we decided to sort of put our heads together and think about building a curriculum around mountain geography or mountain studies. We are a premier university in terms of the amount of research ongoing, research and teaching ongoing that has an emphasis on mountains or mountain environments, both here in the Central Rockies or Northern Rockies and also internationally, either in Central Asia or South Asia or elsewhere. So we decided to develop a curriculum for an undergraduate minor in mountain studies, and we've had students from a vast number of disciplines participate in that program and receive minors in that complement their major degrees, be they in journalism or biology or forestry or geography or anthropology or what have you. So I'll tell you a bit about our field course, which I'm really eager to share because it's situated in an incredibly inspirational environment. And that's an overarching goal, really, is to create a space for students to engage in meaningful ways with place, thinking deeply about mountain environments, and also being inspired. Because certainly we want to inspire students. We want to inspire them to protect places and actively engage in restoring places, as Kara was just discussing. And so we see an introductory level field course as a way to draw students into place-based learning, into mountain-based learning, so that they develop those connections and can sort of lay the foundation for building a career around protecting these places or being involved in actively managing these places. And if anything, to be inspired to be global citizens, to think deeply about mountain environments and the ways in which they are impacted by a whole range of socioeconomic and environmental change. So here's just a few pictures of our course. This course is based, as I said, on the edge of Glacier National Park, and so I have some photos here showing Glacier and looking into Glacier, and also the town of Polbridge. You see the Polbridge Mercantile, which is basically the downtown of Polbridge. That's where everything, the meet and greet, that's where people get their supplies, that's where community comes together. And this is, I should say that this course takes place on a very localized scale. Students become connected to this place through very localized personal interactions. And we are taking them to the other side of the spectrum. We're moving away from the digital frontier. And that is a byproduct of being in Polbridge because there are no cell phones in use. And while there is some internet connection via the Polbridge Mercantile, students don't have laptops. They don't have access to computers. They cannot do their research by sitting down and searching Google. So we have tried to think very carefully about how to disconnect students, unplug students from a digital world so that they can develop their own powers of observation, their own powers of seeing and looking around and observing processes as they move through time on a very, very slow temporal scale. Other pictures I have here include the inside of the North Fork Hostel, which is the home base for the course. So this is where the students stay, and that's also where we have our classroom. And then we have a number of field outings that I'll describe in a minute. And we've taken over 119 students to Polebridge over 6 years. So not a lot of students, but Polebridge can only handle so many students. The winter population is around 8 or 9. But there is mail service for about 100 households in the area. In the summertime, that jumps up, doubles the number. And in the summertime, there's also all kinds of interesting things, such as FedEx deliveries and things like that, in a really remote place. So the other aspect of this is encouraging students to really observe how places are becoming globalized. And indeed, Polebridge, while we like to think of it as incredibly remote, and it does seem very disconnected in as far as digital connections are somewhat aloof, nevertheless, it is a place that's being transformed by global processes as well. Okay, the structure and logistics, it is a winter session course, and it takes place for 1 week in Polebridge, and we have some lead work that students do in preparation for the course. They are required to read the 100 Years of Glacier National Park, which is a great overview of the history of Glacier, taking a decadal by decadal look at Glacier and the role and impact of Glacier National Park, both on the region and also on protecting one of the most impressive places in the world, really, in my opinion. The field sites, as I mentioned, Polebridge is the home base of the course, but Polebridge is nested within scales. And as a geographer, or I think, and other geographers think in terms of scales and how scales interact. So Polebridge is situated within North Fork country, which is along the North Fork of the Flathead, which is tributary to the larger Flathead Basin, Flathead River, which flows into Flathead Lake, and eventually flows into the Clark Fork, which joins the Columbia system and flows out to the Pacific. And earlier students who presented on the course this afternoon, they really emphasized the fact that they can see and touch the headwaters of the Great Columbia Basin. And that's very exciting. That's a kind of connection and appreciation that we really want students to take away from the University of Montana, to understand how they, in this place, how places are connected and how places are connected to larger scales of interactions and processes underway. And this course is also within the Great Crown of the Continent ecosystem. And we have a couple of courses taught on campus by Rick Gratz in geography and other courses dealing with the Crown of the Continent ecosystem. Here in Missoula, we're on the southern edge of the Crown. So as a class, we leave Missoula and have field stops along the way, interpretive stops, to talk about the Crown of the Continent, this larger landscape, to talk about connectivity, the connectivity between places within the Crown, and also the ways in which science, research, and policy making are underway to build connectivity within the landscape between communities or between wildlife corridors or between management approaches and so forth. Few other pictures. We drive up in vans, so the students are all together. And one of the real benefits of this course is that students are talking to each other. They're not talking to their cell phones. They're not texting. They're actually having conversations about what they're seeing and also about what they're interested in studying. All of the students who participate in the course are engaged in the lectures in the morning at the North Fork Hostel, and then in the afternoons we take them out. Here's a couple pictures of lectures. Jack Stanford at the biostation. We usually stop there, either going up or coming down, to get a sense of some of the changes within the Flathead Basin, both ecological changes and riparian changes, as well as socioeconomic changes. And then we often just by chance bump into amazing people who are doing research up there, such as Doug Chadwick, who is amazing person, a Wolverine specialist, and a contributor to National Geographic. So we have these interesting things that take place out in the field that really inspire students. Our field outings take place every afternoon. We have a set of field outings, and the intention here is to connect the theory that they learn in the morning, or environmental history, or wildlife biology, and then go out to the field so that the students can actually make observations, so that they walk these paths via snowshoes, so nice and safe, no skis, to discourage any kind of issues with going off trail, or skis can be sort of unpredictable, as you know, if you've ever tried to ski or don't have a background with skiing. So snowshoes work out really well. And we have key people from the community, from the area, also go with us to help instruct, share their knowledge, and get a sense of environmental change and social change in this landscape. Talking quite a bit about policy in Glacier National Park and its role as an international peace park. And then finally, one other point I want to make is, in terms of engaging students in this inspirational landscape, we put the onus on them to craft a research project on their own. So they have 1 week to collect data, and we describe data as being anything from conversations, qualitative data, to also making their own transects and counting trees or tracks. So we want to engage them in thinking deeply about this place and crafting a research project and a question that's basic, but one that's answerable during the week. We see that as a way to further connect them to this place and to community members who have become very involved in our course over the past 6 years. We have a whole set of families who live in the North Fork year-round, and they are now looking forward and planning their whole itineraries around the arrival of our students and that opportunity to interact with our students. And the Livingston Range is the final picture that I'd like to leave you with, this amazing, majestic landscape. And it's so exciting to have a field course that engages students in this place, learning about the long-term connections that humans have had in this landscape, as well as the challenges from a policy and scientific perspective. So thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate this opportunity.